Oh there. This election has been punctuated with claims of racism, dog whistling, attacks, hatred, and all sorts of other terrible events during candidate meetings. That's why we're going to be looking at the campaign so far this week on the Public Gallery. So for this week's episode, I initially had a very different plan to what it's going to end up being. I wanted to talk to some of our gallery members about their impressions of the campaign so far. And next week, I want to have a talk to them about whether or not they've decided how they're going to vote and what factors led them to that decision. But that's a next week episode. This week's episode changed a lot, though, for me in how it was going to be presented and what it was going to be about after the week that I've witnessed. On Tuesday night, I went to a meeting of the Beach Haven Birkdale Residents Association where they had a Meet the Candidates event. And generally speaking, they tried to run it relatively well, but it did not go well. Every single right-wing candidate from National through to Freedoms NZ spouted misinformation and disinformation in one way or another at some point during the event. There was race baiting from the National Party candidate. First of all, complaining about the way that the local iwi ran their marae, all the way through to I believe in one person, one vote, and refusing to elaborate on exactly what that meant. But that didn't stop the New Zealand First candidate from getting up and saying it was all about free control for Māori. It's disgusting. And seeing that rhetoric ramp up in person is jarring. So jarring. And that wasn't even the worst part of the night. There was a transgender person in the audience who was really targeted, particularly by the last question that came through around cancel culture. When the ACT Party candidate got up and started giving his response to questions about it, and wokeism and transgenderism in schools and all of these other dog whistle issues that showcase these people are either too pig ignorant to learn about what's going on, or they are too stupid to realize that they are incorrect. It got the fans of ACT National worked up so much they were hooping and hollering and stomping and yelling obscenities at this individual. That person had to get up and leave in tears, escorted by security for their own safety. And while they did this, one guy got up and started dancing and singing, escorting them out the door. That person votes. That person is a monster and they vote. Then during the rest of the week, we've seen other horror stories. You might have heard about the content from the speech in Te Maru from the New Zealand First candidate, the one that Chris Hipkins mentioned in the last leaders debate about burying Māori and Māori culture. At that same meeting, the Green Party candidate was booed off stage for using Te Reo Māori. That's disgusting. This is one of two official languages in the country. English is not the other one, but it is disgusting to see people get excited and worked up about being so racist. During the week, we've heard other stories about assaults and attacks. We had a Labour Party candidate who was assaulted at a meeting. And during the week, we found out about a Māori Party candidate for Hauraki Waikato having been broken into 4 times, house ransacked, threatening notes left because of her political affiliations. It's disgusting. The people who are involved in this are disgusting. There is no other way to put this. There's no nice sort of sugarcoating. Well, I'm sure we could respect everybody's opinions. This is what free speech absolutism is. If there are no limits on free speech, the worst of the worst people feel like they are justified in doing this. When you have the leader of the opposition saying, I'm not going to work with the Māori Party because I don't think we can, but I'm happy to work with a party that is telling everyone in their followers base that we will bury Māori culture, that is racist as hell, and words matter. Words are so important. Those are the sort of words that led to what we saw in March in Christchurch a few years ago. They're the sort of words that lead to people being killed. That's what this rhetoric is. You've got a rich old white dude running up and down the country talking about anti-co-governance and elite Māoris while dealing with people like Brian Tamaki, who is exactly the kind of person that this racist old dude is talking about. The hypocrisy is intense. The damage it's doing is major. And so from Monday, we have a choice about whether or not we go out and vote for a party that might give us what we want or put us on the roadmap to where we need to be. Or we have to choose whether or not we don't vote and let in the sort of people who are allowing this rhetoric to happen. We have a leader of a major party who is talking about blowing up the Ministry of Pacific Peoples. That kind of rhetoric it's dangerous. And letting that sort of thing back into Parliament, it's horrifying what the outcomes could be, giving them the keys to the government, which is what the polls are saying at the moment is a possibility. That's horrifying. And it's all because people refuse to listen, refuse to learn, refuse to understand because they feel they're right. They're entrenched in their own belief system and they don't give a crap about anybody else. It's the scariest election I've come across in 25 years. Because of what's been happening, because of how unsafe it is for candidates. We had research done earlier this year that was released by the Office of the Prime Minister and Cabinet that showed 1 in 4 people with conspiratorial thinking in this country think violence is justified for them to get what they want. We had a very active campaigner against or for the alt-right in Christchurch arrested for illegal weapons, semi-automatic guns. Not that long ago either. Like, he's still going through the court process. How dangerous does it have to get out there for people who want to put their names forward? How much risk is there for people who are trying to get our democracy up and running? If every 5 minutes you've got candidates out there spouting misinformation and disinformation that put people's lives at risk. But at the same time, what can we do to stop it from happening? What can we do to make sure that future generations understand what a dog whistle is or how to interpret media or any of it? It's just so painful to see grown adults act like babies because they don't get what they want, because they don't think that the world is being fair to them. So yeah, this is a very short episode because of that reason, because I can't put my beliefs and my viewpoints onto the gallery. That's not what this is about. But this episode is very much my perspective. And I really, really hope that from Monday, the 2nd of October, people mobilise and get out there. Vote to keep these monsters out of Parliament. Vote to keep people away from the halls of power, from the decision-making processes, from the purse strings, from everything, who feel that it's okay to other somebody, who feel it's okay to target people, to incite violence against people based on their skin color, their belief system, who they are. We cannot be a country that goes backwards like that, because God knows what country we'll be if we do.